Hey everyone, hope you're having a good day. My name's Andy. My channel is Finding Value. Today we're going to do our daily technical analysis update of commodities. Work our way through the dollar yields, precious metals, and commodities ETFs that I follow. If you need help with anything, check out finding-value.com. That's where I go into individual companies, individual sectors and stocks and look at all these ratios. We do question and answer sessions on the weekends to help whoever's a member out. And we still have that LEAP discount code going on, LEAP. If you'd like to join and try it out, you get a 50% discount on the first month, and then it goes to normal pricing after that, or you get a larger discount going to a yearly membership. Let's dive in. Let's see what's going on in the markets, and I can give my financial opinions as we go through it. So here's the DXY, the dollar. It is holding steady today. We do have yields going up a little bit. The way that I view this, and if I were to make a guess, we've got strong selling pressure lower, and we're probably going to come up and roll over. It's going to look something like a flag pattern. That would be my guess. If yields were to continue lower. If yields are going to continue higher, we're going to see an expansion of large, big move in yields going up, which at this point, I don't think that's going to occur. So my guess would be that we're going to go up a little bit and then probably roll back over. The 2-year yield getting a pretty nice move today. So the short end of the curve, the 2-year yield, or shorter end, I should say, pretty nice bounce today, up 1.3%. We haven't broken the downtrend yet, but it is possible. On the longer end of the curve, the 10-year, still looking kind of weak. Momentum's to the downside, not really a convincing strong bounce, at least not yet. But I could be easily persuaded if we throw in a large candlestick here that we are going to turn this around, which then would mean that the dollar would actually strengthen. But right now, that's a little early. The momentum's still to the downside, and we have not made the turn the corner yet. It's attempting to. The 30-year yield also looks a little bit weak. We're underneath the resistance of this trend line here, and it does look kind of like a flag pattern where maybe we end up at that spot down there, which is the low 4% range. That is my view at the moment until we get more data, and I would have to see that data to change my mind. TYX TNX ratio is basically flat. This ratio indicates a tailwind behind gold if it goes up. It's the yield curve uninverting. And I'm using the 30-year and 10-year, which is the longer end of the curve, which is arguably not manipulated as much. That's why I'm using the longer end. TLT, which is bond prices, also holding steady. Not too much of a big move in yields and not too much of a big move in bond prices. This still looks good for bond prices to go up, which makes me think that yields could go lower since we don't really have a strong selling pressure move, and it's basically a flag pattern that I just drew in there. And then the 2 and 10-year yield, it is still inverting, or is staying inverted, I should say. And it still looks good to stay inverted. Maybe we go up. That is a possibility where the yield curve, the short end of the curve, stays higher than the longer end of the curve. And we see today that definitely the 2-year went up a lot more than the 10-year. So gold, I mean, gold's really holding on here given the stronger yields and a little bit stronger dollar. It's holding on. So we have just a small sideways day. We're up $2 an ounce, roughly speaking. And the momentum does look like it's slowing down a little bit. But again, a lot of these moves, they can move quite rapidly when you get these breakouts. So I'm still bullish. The momentum's to the upside for gold. Silver also looking pretty good. Um, I've got my trend line. I redrew it where I'm basically touching the tops of these guys. You could redraw this and say that we are broken out more on the closing prices, which would be, more down in this range here. Uh, but I'll just keep it at an upper elevated level, be conservative, and it does look like we could potentially be breaking out here very soon. I think a clear break, if we get to like upper 25s, $26 an ounce, that's a clear break of the downtrend line. And then you want to look across to the left. I would say 28 is probably a clear breakout for all of this congestion that we've got in this area here. It's a lot of buyers and sellers. Some overhead resistance is still left to about $28, which is up here. Platinum really ripping it, up almost 3% today. And this looks fantastic for hopefully the beginning of a commodity bull market where platinum outperforms gold. And that is one of many indicators signaling that the commodity bull market is game on. And they also did a study when platinum outperforms gold, generally the stock market underperforms. So that goes perfectly in line with all of the research I've done for me. Palladium also higher, and this looks fantastic to go on up. We've got an inverted shoulder, head, shoulder, a breakout, and then we've got the small selling pressure where I think we're going to move on higher. And I'll leave that on there. XAU to gold ratio, we've got a nice big bullish engulfing candlestick where the gold and silver mining companies, they originally opened up kind of underperforming and really finished strong. This looks like we could go higher. And again, what's good about this is we're at a very low level and we're still underneath this big long-term downtrend line that we're trying to break through. If we break through that, guys, I'm going to be a monster bull. And I'm already positioned, even down here, I've been positioning in some of the companies, ones that have good patterns, and I'm trying to cherry pick a bottom. I get it, and I am very patient. So if we break that downtrend line, I'm going to be uber bullish. CRB index working its way up a little bit. I think crude oil was basically flat today, but it looks like some of the other commodities are carrying it forward. This looks good to continue higher. It looks really strong. And then the CRB index to S&P 500, this looks like it's putting in a lot of green candlesticks where potentially we could get a move to the upside where commodities start to outperform the overall stock market index. So I think we're getting close. We're kind of back to this general support level in that general area there. I think we're going to tag it. We'll probably work our way on up. That is also what the blue fractal of last commodity bull market is also suggesting, where we basically came up and we tagged it right where this support area is down here. So we've got the same type of situation that is occurring right now that we'll probably tag and work our way on up. So that's looking good for commodity stock ratio. GDX up 1.7%, looking quite good. Bullish engulfing too. So hopefully the momentum can continue to the upside. GDXJ is also putting in a pretty strong candlestick, and we've got a really strong candlestick on the monthly, where this could be the beginning of hopefully a very big move, the beginning of the beginning move. It's SILJ on steroids, 3.4% up, looking really good. It's right at that trend line, and we're peeking through it here. Again, let's hope that this is not a false move, because I know people and their emotions. These investments are playing with a lot of people's emotions. I get it. We're getting excited, but yet also skeptical that this is the breakout that everyone's been looking for. Crude oil basically flat. We're on support, just moving sideways. So that's looking good. Let's hope the support holds and we can turn this thing around in a heartbeat. We are coming into seasonal strength for crude oil and the oil and gas companies. We do have a couple of mixed readings here. We've got bearish engulfing here. We got another bearish engulfing here. And there is a slight kind of squeezing in this pattern here. I'm not going to really be concerned, even if we do a little detour. I still think we're going to go up eventually. But we're up against resistance. This is also a shoulder, a head, and a shoulder. And we're right up on that neckline. Are we going to go down a little bit, or are we going to bust through? Flip a coin, guys. We'll find out. TTF down a little bit. Natural gas is still a little bit weak. We have warm weather. It's not helping the demand case. Although we do have power burn demand basically shooting through the roof with artificial intelligence, electric vehicles, and all other sorts of electricity demand. Natural gas in America, it is pulling back a little bit as expected. I mean, we're coming into shoulder season. That's basically between heating season and cooling season. This could also be a flag pattern that we basically will bounce like this and then work our way up whenever we're done basing out. Our boy XOP, yeah, you know me, actually looking really strong here. We have positioning. It just continues to float higher. We've got a bullish candlestick. It opened lower, closed pretty strong towards its highs. This looks good to go higher. And again, don't forget the bigger picture view, shoulder, head, shoulder, and a potential breakout. That breakout's going to yield us a very big move. That doesn't mean that the move will just go straight up. What I think it means is that this is a bottoming pattern and we go into a longer term upcycle in the XOP ETF. OIH also looking ultra strong, up 1.5% in the face of basically flat crude oil and a little bit lower natural gas. People are positioning here in the oil service companies. Big bullish engulfing, good strong closing, momentum to the upside. We've broken a downtrend recently, which is this downtrend here, which is also a big flag pattern. So it looks good. Sprott Physical Uranium Trust, a little bit of selling pressure going on. We're holding steady though. It's not just dive bombing. Are we putting in a bottom here? We got to see some buying pressure here. Let's get the green army showing up where we start putting in some big fat green candlesticks. And then I will tell you guys that it looks good and we'll work our way on up. URA also just a small little down day. What we want to see is a big green candlestick engulfing or a hammer candlestick or something. I don't want to see a big red candlestick, which means that this is in fact a inverted flag pattern that we could see go lower. So again, let's wait and see what comes about. And it doesn't matter if this pulls back, even for me, I'm not going to do anything. I'll be riding. URNM also same setup, could be a flag pattern, inverted flag pattern. URNJ's got the same thing, could be an inverted flag pattern, which has the possibility of dive bombing. Uh, and that move would be the same size as basically this move here. This would be something on the lines of like that, where we could pull back to $20-ish, $19, something like that. TAN working sideways, a little bit stronger yields. It doesn't like stronger yields, but it probably likes um, money flows. And I think there's money flowing into the economy. You can see that in Bitcoin and Ethereum and gold's going up. So it's just kind of moving sideways. Copper's looking pretty strong here. It's looking like it's trying to give a good effort to break out here. We're just peeking out a little bit and we could get a big move to the upside. So copper's looking stronger and maybe that liquidity coming to the market is helping it move on up. And we should be seeing the copper companies probably follow if we do get a nice clear break here. COPX working its way up. It's got a bullish piercing pattern today. It looks real strong, where we could work our way on up if copper decides to keep going on higher. Lithium up quite a bit. This does look more and more like it is going to bottom, which is good. So, I mean, go find your companies in lithium if you guys like lithium, and it's probably a good spot to be looking. REMX is also throwing a big bullish engulfing today. It looks real strong. This does look like a bottom, almost like an inverted head and shoulders breakout retest, and the retest held. It looks good. So, bullish engulfing here today. I think we're going on up for REMX. The S&P 500 slightly lower. It's holding on though, but we do have this bearish engulfing pattern, and I'd be looking for a potential move lower. It's only one candlestick though. It's not really there's not a ton over here, so we'll see. It is in a rising wedge with a bearish engulfing at the top. I'm looking for a potential move lower, but it just seems to keep bubbling higher. So, the trend and the momentum is still to the upside at this time. NASDAQ's got the same type of setup. Momentum's up in a rising wedge with a big bearish engulfing pattern that occurred on Friday's trading session. It makes me think that we could go lower, but it could also do something where we get another couple of bearish engulfing patterns where it stays up for a little while because the momentum is carrying us on up. And then the distribution selling will occur right in that area. KRE also still looking good. Not much selling pressure above support. Still looks good to go higher with a big bullish engulfing candlestick here. That still looks really good to go on up. Emerging markets doesn't like the stronger yield, stronger dollar. Just went sideways today. We've got XHB, which went down a little bit. Still, look, it's holding on. It's holding on. We do have a bearish engulfing here Friday, but it's holding on. We got hammer candlestick. The buyers are trying to fight to keep this thing up. We've got Moo working its way up. This looks really good. Bullish engulfing right on support. It looks good to go higher. We are at a support level below us, which is the blue line going across. And we've been moving on lower here. And it looks like to me that we were trying to bottom here. That's why you see all these big green candlesticks, bullish engulfing there. There's another bullish engulfing here. There's another one here. And it looks like it's trying to put in a bottom. So I think this looks pretty good. And maybe there's some fertilizers or something that look like they're bottoming. FEF, which is iron ore, doesn't look too good on the monthlies, but yeah, this is still working its way lower for iron ore. And maybe we've got to do a retest here. This is a big pattern that we've got. The projected move is up here. We broke out. It looks like we're doing our retest move before moving on up. I would be a buyer in this location down here soon. Nickel working its way on higher. That's looking better. We've got aluminum, which is also working its way on up. We've broken out of this little pattern here, and we did a retest Friday, and I think it looks good to work its way on up. Looks really good, and I bet you it's going to move with copper. Copper moves up, this will probably move on up with it. Baltic Dry Index working its way on higher. We've got lots of coal shipping and all that stuff going on over the next years, so that's looking good. We've got Newcastle coal down a little bit, down 2.3%, but it's bottoming. You're probably going to see this thing eventually work its way on up. And this is a retest of a much larger, bigger pattern. You've got the base here, breakout, and then the retest. This is actually a really good time to be looking in this general location. You might get a couple of months of sideways action, or maybe even half a year of sideways action for potential buy points. Bitcoin continuing to rip higher looks really good. I do think that this is probably getting close to the end of the move. If you were to look at the fractal location, if I were to just circle things, basically you've got a breakout here. This fractal is literally this fractal here, and your breakout's that. So this here is this bottom pattern. That's how I view it, and it's just fractal. Um, the fractal's replicating itself. So basically, you get one point here. That's that point here. If you continue to look on up, you've got another pause point, another potential pause point, and then you've got a pause point there, and I think eventually we're going to probably get to a potential top, which is probably coming sometime soon. Ethereum is also following that same type of move, and back out so you get a little bit more. There's your kind of move lower. There's your move lower. It's in the same rough location. Came on up. There's your squeeze point, and then we've come on up and we haven't paused yet. And this could probably make new all-time highs, but it'll eventually probably wear itself out. So that's still looking good. And then looking at some of these companies just to show you what maybe a potential top could look like. And I don't know if we're at a top yet, but there's your bearish engulfing candlestick. We have another bearish cloud cover here. These start to show up, and this is generally like the spot that I would be kind of selling in. A lot of people ask me, how do I know when to sell commodities? Well, your ratio is expensive, and the ratio is expensive for equities at this time. And then you start getting all these big distribution candlesticks, like a bearish engulfing, and also this bearish cloud cover. Cloud cover is where you open up and it closes roughly of the majority of the candlestick, which is the 50th percentile of this candlestick and below, which it does meet. And then you'll start seeing these all kind of show up. And then eventually it'll work off the momentum because there's a lot of momentum here that's built up. It's a gigantic momentum move. Sometimes these reverse very quickly, but it'll probably do something like that. Is my guess. It's a Batman pattern, is what I tried to draw, and it'll come down like that. That's my guess. And then NVIDIA would be another one to look at that's probably also doing something very similar. You get a big bearish engulfing pattern. You've still got a ton of momentum, so it's probably going to sit up here for a little while, maybe. That's not 100% given. And usually you get topping patterns with these big wicks too, just to let you guys know what it looks like. Or when the commodity cycle does peak, that's what we're looking for. So that's what I've got for today. Thumb up for the content, subscribe to the channel, subscribe to the website, guys. If you like this type of analysis, I do this type of analysis. Rather than the technology sector kind of peaking out, we've got big bottoming patterns occurring in the commodity sectors. And that's where I'm the most bullish because these big bottoming patterns, they take about 3, 4, 5 years to bottom because these are big trend changes. And then I think we're going to have an outperformance for probably over, could be a decade or maybe even longer than a decade, depending on if the problems get solved or not. And then it's going to be a big stage two move in commodities. And that goes across many different commodities. It's uranium and copper and oil and nat gas and on and on and on and on, all those different commodities. And it's also going to probably be going up with interest rates. So you're going to see a big long-term bottom in interest rates, which we've already broken the downtrend on. And then the money's going to rotate from technology and a lot of these other S&P 500 and probably crypto too. I know people are very bullish on crypto, but I think crypto is just an extension of technology stocks and the NASDAQ. And I think it's also an extension of the bubble that we're in. And then I think money will eventually rotate to things that people absolutely need. They don't need Bitcoin. That's just a speculative asset. They don't need Ethereum. Even the companies don't need those. They can build their own cryptocurrencies and their own networks if they wanted to, and then centralize them too if it's a database or something like that. But the money's going to rotate into things that people need, which is food, energy, and all those types of things, and certain commodities that provide basically the basis for wealth in the world. And the wealthier someone is, the more energy they consume, which means that more money is going to go to energy if there's a problem in energy. But that's what I've got for today. We'll catch you guys later. This is Finding Value.